Welcome to the Encouragement Conquers All podcast with Justin Fatica, the podcast for people who want to learn how to be the most encouraging person on the planet and enhance their encouragement superpowers. Now, here's your host, Justin.
How's it going, everybody? We're back in action on the Encouragement Conquers All podcast, and we're here to encourage, to build up others, to explore stories of people who've been resilient in life, people who've had faith, people who know transformation. And today we're honored to have a friend, a guest of ours, Tim J. Not just Tim Hanley, Tim J. Hanley. He is our guest, and he's somebody that I believe he's the reason that the mission of impacting millions of lives has continued and gone on. He's actually a co-founder of Hard as Nails, but in his regular everyday life, that's just his Clark Kent life, his Superman life. He's a father, he's a father. He has an unbelievable wife, Raquel, who's also a friend of mine. He owns the best pizzeria. If you've ever been to a pizzeria, you got to go to the best pizzeria in all of New Jersey, and I believe in all of the world. But skeptics will say, "Nah, you got to go." It's in Ridgewood, New Jersey, San Egidio. It's called. Check it out. And also, he runs a trucking company that his father started, and he's continued. And he's been a friend for a long time. And we're going to dive into forgiveness. We're going to dive into past mistakes. We're going to dive into accepting God's plan when it's tough. But I'm excited to have Tim J. Hanley on. So come on now.
Good to be here, brother. I appreciate the middle initial, man. Keeping it there right where it belongs, man. You're out of your mind.
It was on there, when the producers. I always feel bad. The producers put all this stuff on. I'm like, I gotta use it up, because if I don't use it up, I feel bad. I get discouraged.
Right.
Like, I'll end up using none of it, and then
I don't know how it ended up there, but there it is, man. The middle initial
with a capital J
in all of its glory, man.
No, but I'm pumped to have you on to talk to you about a lot of stuff. But number one, you've been doing some jiu-jitsu, right? You've been shaking. I mean, tell people about, you got like this mentor you got going on. Tell me about this guy.
Oh man. Yeah, the jiu-jitsu journey's been awesome, man. I haven't told you this yet, man, but a couple days ago, I actually earned my blue belt, man, which was like a tremendous moment for me. And
who did you just break their back? Who did you just crush somebody and they're
No. As a matter of fact, contrary to that, our professor, our master who teaches us, Eric Tavares, he put me in the middle of the room and he just kept the guys coming. They just were smashing me, bro, just beating me up the whole night. And then the end of the night, I was rewarded for, I don't know. It wasn't for that night, but I guess just for, if you show up, man, every day, that's kind of the theme, if you will, of how to progress through the art of jiu-jitsu, man. You got to show up every day. You don't got to do nothing spectacular on any of those days per se, but you just got to keep showing up, man.
Yeah, well, that's what life's about. And let me tell you something.
Yeah, that is what life's about, man. And that's
unbelievable about jiu-jitsu is this for you. Like basketball, how like I've come into my own, just being a coach and getting into that as I've gotten older. I really think that's been what it's like for you. Like, this is really brought, I've seen a lot of life that's brought. Share about that, what jiu-jitsu's done for you and the life it's brought into you.
Oh man, bro, it's been awesome, man. I mean, listen, I started this journey maybe 18 months ago, and I didn't do anything physical in my entire adult life, more physical than lifting a slice of pizza to my face, man. So this was like totally out of left field, and it really started because there was a desire in my heart to journey with my sons. It stemmed out of conversations that you and I have had, Justin, about just being I don't know, just being able to be weak with our own children, to show our weaknesses, to not be a a, a professional in every aspect of our lives, so that our children only see the things that we're great at. And I think it's very easy for us as men to gravitate to do the things that we excel in and to showcase those things both to the world, to our families, to our children. But you encouraged me a long time ago, and have over various points we've had the conversation, the importance of that, of being a beginner, and so for me it was very much about like being a beginner again at something, along with my sons who were beginners starting the jujitsu
Wow.
journey. And um and that yeah, that was the real like inspiration behind it, man. And it was phenomenal. I mean, I've shared the story with some friends, but I visited a bunch of places looking for the right gym, the right, where I don't know anything about it. Like I don't
Oh,
know
you got to
anything.
calculate everything. So
Oh, bro,
even what gym you go to has to be a calculation.
the most calculated thing. I can't make a decision without calculating, So I broke out my calculator and started to determine where to embark on. I visited some gyms and different places, met some guys teaching, and you shake some hands, you do a trial class, and it's like this ain't for me, man. And finally, I stumbled into this gym close by to where I lived in Bergen County, and this guy was there in the middle of the day, Brazilian guy, and I walk in the front door, bad looking dude, man, like tough guy, man. Like you just know by looking at this guy, like you don't want to cross him on a bad night in a dark alley. And he greeted me with this warmth and humility that was so attractive to me as a man, to meet another man who wasn't trying to showcase or be flashy, but just himself in authenticity and humility. And I felt so welcome in that place for me and my sons to train on that first meeting. And man, I'm so grateful that I found Eric, in Loyalty Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, because it's the journey's changed my life, man, and it's changed the life of my children.
Well, that's beautiful because you said one thing which I want to go back to because it's an important thing you said.
Yeah,
Like being a beginner is encouraging when you do it with people you love. That's an interesting thought. I mean, like I think a lot of dads, a lot of men, they don't want. You're right. They don't want to do that, but I think it is so important. I
yeah,
remember in basketball when I'd come back from practice and like my son's watching me get swore at, which he's
right,
never
right.
seen anybody disrespect me to my face in my life.
Yeah, man, sure.
And I'm using every motivational, encouraging tactic I got in my tool belt, and nothing's working.
Yeah, yeah,
And he'd get in the car with me. And did you know those are some of the most intimate moments I've had with him? Because he said, my dad's human, but he still loves people. My dad's human. I think your kids have probably seen that. I don't know. Is there anything, a story about your kids that you kind of like, it's opened up just a little window through this process that you've kind of been touched by them? I'm sure you have one of them.
yeah, man. I mean, Justin, there's been a ton of moments that have been transformative for me and my sons. All my three sons train with Eric as well at the gym. My oldest son Tim is 11, JJ is 10, just turned 10 yesterday, and Michael is 7. And the three of them all train, and yeah, so we've had a lot of those transformative moments, for them individually, as boys who are, have a desire to form them to become men. And a big part of why I chose that gym was because I saw Eric as a man who would reinforce the values that I desired to instill in my own sons. And I didn't want to be the only person, the only man in their life that models those things. Another thing you and I have spoken a lot about is surrounding ourselves with a tribe of brothers who reinforce the same
Yes.
ideals, the same values
Yep.
in our sons. And so, Eric has been that for my sons as a coach, and just as a man who believes those same things, that I do. And I've seen transformation. And to answer your question more specifically, I think one great moment for me, and there's been many, my son JJ medaled in a tournament, took second place in his first jiu-jitsu tournament. Lot of great moments. My son Tim, developing his body to do things that he would have never maybe thought he was capable of doing. But a great moment that comes to mind in particular was when I actually competed in a tournament recently, and my sons were all there. My wife was there. We were, it was a cool thing, like to compete again, right? I competed in football for years,
Yep.
even at the collegiate level, but having not competed in so long, to put yourself in the position of, in this case, even differently than football, because it's just you versus another guy,
Yep.
and my sons were there on the side of the mat. My wife was there on the side of the mat. My teammates were there, my training partners. And to lose a match in the face of, you know, everybody that you love, that you train with, and everything else, to watch you lose, I think is actually a great moment for, probably for my sons, you know, to see that, hey, dad's not perfect.
Yeah.
He's not great at everything. And what's my response to that going to be is a very, it's a key moment in my fathering of my sons, right? How do they see me respond in the face of adversity, in the face of a loss? And Yeah, I've given a lot of thought and consideration to that experience, and yeah, just kind of what that's maybe been for them,
Yeah. We call it losing well, and,
Yeah,
and like losing well is important. I know that like a lot of the tournaments we faced these years, when we lose, like how do we react? How do the other coaches react? How do people react? And a lot of people don't react so well when they lose. I mean, in the jujitsu world, you probably can't get away with losing badly because it's a little more respected. You know, like I know people wouldn't look at it like that, but from what I've researched, they're a lot more respectful to one another. But in the
yeah.
basketball world, it's not. I mean, I had to watch. I get punched in the chest by this Suge Knight guy.
Right,
Like,
right.
you know what I mean? Like Suge Knight lookalike. Like,
Right.
and like, what am I gonna punch him back, or am
No,
I
you got
gonna?
to you got to learn a little jujitsu, I think, actually. That might be the answer. Might be the
Yeah,
only way.
yeah, that might be the only way. But to watch your son, I had to like be like, oh, it's no big deal.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
to
yeah,
get,
yeah,
but it's important for your kids to see that you can lose and you
yeah.
can lose. But I'm glad you bring that up because I think right now in our country we are losing. Like people don't look at it like that on a daily basis, but we're losing. Like I just saw a book that I was looking at, and I didn't get to read the whole thing, but I was reading parts of it, and it was saying get used to a multi generational family, not the real family. And it was interesting when I read that, my heart like broke because I was like, what it was saying is this, and this was like a conservative Christian book, like a like a faith type book.
Right.
And it hit me because I had to think about this for a second. Is this guy right? Get used to it. Or do I got to fight back or something? And it hit me really hard because what he was saying is the nuclear family of a mother and a father is really not going to be the case in this next generation. It's going to be, there's going to need to be coaches, mentors, people that care for others. I don't know if you see it that way. In my new book I'm writing, Unconditional Encouragement, I talk about how, like, by 2040, what I see in my stats are there's going
Right.
to be need to be orphanages opening up again because of the lack of family. Like, just picture right now. Let's just say we go through some type of depression. I hope not, but let's just say we do. What happens? What happens to our nation? How do we respond to losing in that depression? Do we all just suffocate ourselves and, like, just take care of our own? Or do we look at, I think that that's what you're talking about with this jiu-jitsu family. Like, it's like you have this family that's like you're leaning on in so many different aspects, though you're not related. Like my coaching staff, like our team Amazing. So give me your thoughts on that. Does that speak to you? Do you think that's real what this author's saying? That what's going on here? This is gonna You're gonna have like strangers or people that become your friends helping you through life. Is that where we're headed? I don't know.
I don't know, brother. Look, I mean, I you know, I've been given some consideration. I met recently with somebody who's become someone who's I guess their 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 vision has been very formative for me over the past few months, and that man is the pastor of my home parish, Father Daniel at Mount Carmel in Boonton, New Jersey. He's just a fantastic preacher, and listening to his his homilies, his preaching each day, it's like it's been a beautiful formation for me, um, and one of the things that we were discussing just in, kind of side conversation outside of the context of his preaching specifically, but nonetheless very much I think in his heart, and therefore forming my own heart, is this notion of kind of uh, like tribalism, where community is a gift, man, and we are in a time right now where we're suffering greatly. Our social networks are broader, social networks are broader than they've ever been, and maybe our real true sense of community is less significant than it's ever been. And so it's a dangerous time, man, and a big reason, Justin, that that I recently relocated my family to a new town, with the intention of joining a parish and a school and a place with like-minded people. Again, to reinforce the same thing I was seeking through the gym and through the jujitsu training, I seek as well through the school and through the relationships of a church community, a family there. Um, is to build the tribe with like-minded people who desire the same things for their children, and even desire the same things as they get to know my own children that I desire for my own children. And those friendships, man, have been a gift, a gift to raise your family with brothers and sisters, not only the unfortunate friendships like yourself and myself who have physical distance between us, that's great enough that it makes it difficult for us to raise our families
Of
together, so
course.
to speak, um, so it has been refreshing to walk closely with these families in this community, and kind of build the tribe in that sense, so that they can be those reinforcements, and yeah, for my own family, for my own children.
Yeah. There's a point they're starting to build like the series, the docu series of the team, and there's a point in there where one of the brothers of one of my coaches comes on the scene, and he says, "Man, it's just interesting. Like, families just looked right now in our culture so different. You could be a brother of somebody who's not your brother. You know what I mean? You could be a sister to somebody who's not your sister." And that's what you're saying. You're saying, look, we got to get back to the basics here.
You can be a father to somebody who's not your kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Right? That
Yeah.
I mean, and that you live that as a coach, Justin. I know, with
Yeah.
your own players. I mean, you're a father for those guys, I'm sure.
Yeah, a few of them, they've, been homeless, don't have a dad, the whole deal. You want to be that image of that they can believe that it's real, that you can be a dad, you can be a brother, you can be a friend. And,
Yeah,
and what you're doing though, which is important, I think, and I think every dad, it's their responsibility to do is say, look, I'm going to intentionally surround my kids with the people that are living out what I believe is going to be most encouraging to them. Because I was on a podcast recently with, a couple, and I said, look, I used an example, it was Jessica and Victor, those guys, and I
sure.
was,
Yeah, of course, of
yeah,
course.
yeah, and so I was on the podcast. This is what I said. I said, okay, look, it might not be encouraging for you, but it'd be encouraging for me. I want you to just walk in my house and don't knock on the door and just come in and say, hey, here I am. I'm here. I want to hang out. Like, now you might not think that's encouraging because I told my sister-in-law this. I said, when are you just going to come over, not knock on the door and just walk in and say, hey, how's it going? And don't even tell me you're coming over. And she says, well, that would be ridiculous. And
Right,
I
right,
said,
right.
yeah, for you. Like, I wouldn't go to your house, knock on the door, or it's open, come in and say, hey, how I'm doing, because I know you wouldn't think that's encouraging.
Right,
But
right.
guess what? For me, if you just opened up the door and said, hey, because and you know this growing up Italian, right?
Of course.
Like, if you're a grow up Italian, like, right? I've been watching this
Yeah.
Instagram. I don't know if you got it, but it's hardcore Italians. I'm like all over it right now.
No.
You got to look this up. I mean, it's fabulous. I mean, it'll
Oh
make you
man.
feel like you're back home. I mean,
Yeah,
seriously.
bro. Yeah, yeah,
But like
yeah.
nobody, and people don't realize this. For me, and this is something I want to ask you, I'm interested. Like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me, it would be encouraging. I would probably, you know me, I'd probably tear up
Yeah,
if
yeah.
somebody did that because that's how I grew up.
Right. Right.
Like somebody's just gonna walk in who's Uncle Werpy, cousin Boober. Now the problem is they might stay there for 3 months. Now that's a problem. I mean, like
That was
that's the problem. I don't want them to stay
like
for 3 months.
my cousin Marco from Italy, man. Like a year ago, I my doorbell rings at my house. I come to the door and he's standing there from Italy. He's standing at my front door. What are you doing here, bro?
It's a
And
normal day.
that's it. Needless to say, he stayed for 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're saying, okay, enough's enough here. I love you, but enough's
Oh no,
enough.
I love him, man. I love him.
Well,
No, it's funny. That's so funny, man.
but
It's
I've
so
been
funny.
I've been really diving into this because it's funny to ask people, like, what would be encouraging for you that might not be encouraging for anybody else, or maybe only a few people on the planet? Because I think right now, what we're doing is not stepping on anybody's toes. We're not expressing our cultural differences and fighting for that. But there are groups that do that. But I think every one of us need to be fighting for what we see as valuable. Like, what's something that's valuable to you that might surprise somebody, even if it's the stupidest little thing? I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but it might.
No, man, I haven't thought about this.
I like that I got a question you haven't thought about because you think about everything.
Ah, and you know me, bro. You throw a question at me that I haven't thought about, and I gotta think about it now. Now I'm
Now
like,
I'm gonna have to go on to the next question.
yeah.
So
What do you
think
want me to
about this.
just spit an answer back to you? You just asked me. I haven't even had a chance to think about this yet.
Well, think
No,
about it. I'll ask you again, and you tell me when
it.
you're ready. But it's an important thing to ask because I believe that's unconditional encouragement. That you find out what that person's unique love is, that unique thing that would speak to them, and you say, I want to care for them in that way, even if it's uncomfortable for me.
Yeah. So I seek out those things in others. You're saying, Justin, like, what's the thing for them that they would find to be life giving, that would be received like a gift and bring joy to them, and to serve them in that way. You're saying, not even though that necessarily that might not speak to you.
So yeah, if you come to Syracuse, New York, and you just walked in, you didn't tell me you were coming, and you
Yeah,
just stopped by, you knew I was in town, and do you know how much I'd be like, oh my,
you'd be
it's like
psyched.
it would be like the greatest day of my life. It's like this, right?
You ever see that? You ever see that Sebastian Maniscalco
Oh,
sketch
that guy's
on this?
hilarious.
You ever see when he talks about this when people drop by the house? You ever see
Oh,
this thing?
what does he say?
Oh, Justin, it's so funny. It's so funny. He just talks about how back in the day, you'd walk by, you'd go to the house, you'd go to like, your aunt, cousin's house, and you just walk up to the door, you'd knock on the door, and it was the greatest thing. Oh my God, come in! It's so good to see you. Oh my, what are you doing? Well, we're just dropping by. We're in the neighborhood. And then he like talks about how nowadays you come in, it's like someone knocks on the door, and everyone's like, get down. There's someone at the door.
No, it's true though.
Like it's just the times have changed, man. The times have changed, but that's funny that there's something nostalgic about that. I can relate to that. I'm that way too when it comes to that specific thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm the same. I would love a drop by, a drop in, but I'm an extrovert, right? Like, so I feed off of friendship and social interaction. And so somebody coming by the house is like, that's awesome. And if three more people came after that, it would be even better, like the more the merrier type of a thing. That's what is life-giving for me, right? And those same things for others might just be like they would dread the idea of like someone just
Yeah,
dropped
for them it might be like, get your favorite book out.
Yeah,
Sit,
sure,
sit next to me, say nothing,
sure.
and read your favorite book because I know that you're reading, which is beautiful.
And I don't
But
even
that
think I've
wouldn't be
ever read a
mine.
book.
No, but look, and this is what like my faith has done for me.
Yeah.
Like for me, what my faith has done for me, it's challenged me, and the way God's loved me is in that way. So it's challenged me to love others in that way. So like it's like the way God loves me. Like I remember I went out to Hollywood to give a talk, and like I go there, it's like a jail cell around the uh, the the school, but it was like a super nice school. So I'm like, why is there a jail cell? I get to the front, and like they're patting me down, like, okay, don't talk to anybody. This. So I get in the school, and I'm like, I whisper to the principal, I'm like, what's going on here? She goes, oh, they didn't tell you? This is where all the celebrities' kids go to school.
Ah,
And so at
okay.
the end of the talk, this little girl came up to me, and she was 12 at the time. You can find her online now if you look her up after I tell who she is, because she's like big time now. But
Right,
she's
right.
crying because she's impacted by the talk I gave about faith and about motivating her to say yes to Christ and to live, an amazing life. And so she's super impacted. The principal goes, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you know whose daughter that is. And only like a few kids came up to me because they're a little nervous. They're not supposed to talk to her. And I go, no. She goes, that's Rocky Balboa, Sylvester Stallone's daughter. And it was a stupid thing, but for me, it was God loving me in that little way that maybe no other speaker, like maybe,
Yeah.
some other speaker wants,
I mean,
Saint.
nobody's been as impacted by Rocky Balboa as you have.
No, I've seen some kids that are impacted. I saw this video this week. I was dying about it. There's this kid that gets on, right? And he's like memorized like 50 lines of the Rocky movie. And
Oh yeah.
he sees Rocky
Oh,
Balboa in public. Did you see that?
I saw that video. I saw that clip. That
That was
kid's awesome, man.
that was
He's
so cool.
great. Yeah, yeah. And
I don't
Sylvester
even know.
Stallone got such a kick out. He's like, oh my, they're going back and forth with the dialogue,
I think
right?
he knew more of the lines than Sylvester Stallone
Oh
did.
yeah, the kid was doing awesome, man. It was great. It was great.
But what I'm saying is like just to ask you, like right now we need a paradigm shift.
Uh-huh.
Like and how we're thinking of things. It's like how can our family, how can what we value, like how can we be of the service for others? And I know you're really good at this. at your restaurant that you own with your truckers. I remember, when you helped us out, we had the guy who, drives your trucks, the way he thinks about you and how your family and your mother served him for all those years. And like, we need to get back to like, it's not you who serve me, it's I who serve you. And you're really good at this. You're like, hey, how you always want people to feel welcome and feel a part of things. And like, how did you get that way? Because I think everybody needs to be that way.
I don't know, brother. How did I get that way? I mean, it must be it. You know, it's like a heart for hospitality. And I would guess that it was probably formed through my own parents. Probably goes back that far. I mean, you knew me when I was in high school. Was that characteristic qualities of me at that
Yeah,
time? Do you think
I lived at your house and your mom did my
that
laundry for me.
that's okay? So there's really no question then where it came from. I think it's pretty clear that it came from her. You know what I mean? No. um, so yeah, I think it came from my upbringing, from my home. What was shown to me, through those experiences, probably.
But
And
why is that important? Why is it important? Like if you were to go look up videos right now, it's
uh-huh.
like they're all about like how do you get yours? Like how do you control people? How do you make the most money? And like you know how a lot of the videos, not all of them, but many
I
of them,
know.
it's crazy. They're
Well,
not
what's
like,
your value system, man, is what that comes down to. I mean, what's important to you, you know? What's important to you? I think there was a time in my life probably where I could have gone the other way, uh, which would have been more along those lines of I got to get mine and do what I got to do to, be the best that I can. Not bad things. I mean, but it's like to be the best that I can be at the expense of anything or anyone is lunacy. I mean, you can't you become less of a man or less of a woman when it's at the expense of others. So where maybe the question is kind of where did that value system then come from, where I mean, for me, Justin, that comes from Christ, man, um from being formed in the mind and the heart of Christ, and wanting uh good for others, and desiring that above even, trying to be considerate of those things selflessly, even if when it's at your own personal expense. That's like at the core of the Christian value system and the Christian life, you know?
yeah, and even this, even secular like agnostics and secular leaders are saying this, which is so cool right now. It's a big movement going on. It's like, okay, it's not Jesus. Like then who or what are you? So what are we gonna live by? And I was so empowered by that because they didn't
Yeah,
have to say that. They could have said it was their 7 principles they created or something like
right,
that.
right.
But they've been really battling about this. And what's that all about, this man Jesus that people are battling about? I think it's so interesting.
Well, because it's a great way to live your life. Like I think secularly people can acknowledge the joy and the goodness to a life lived by those values, those selfless values, even if they're not believers in Christ. For me, I think it was the Christian life that formed that consciousness in me, but someone else could be formed in that through a different avenue. It's possible, that they could, kind of form that same selflessness and care for others, maybe above their own interests. And there's goodness in that, just as a value.
Yeah, but there's a difference. I think it's into what you're following than who you're following. It's kind of like if you if I read like Ken Blanchard's books, right? But
Uh-huh.
Ken Blanchard's a friend of mine, so they mean way more to me because I know the who I'm reading,
Yes,
and then I'm like able to be like, wow, I hung out with him when he says that it
of
matches
course.
this. It's the same thing with Jesus. Like I've for me, I've met the who. The who changed my life. Like
Right.
I've never been the same since I met Jesus Christ. And you can say the same thing because I
Yeah, you and
remember
me
when
both,
you
man.
you, you were young and when you decided to say, no, no, I because I think you were at that point. Like what you were doing was better and then something clicked for you where I don't know, do you remember the process in your brain, or maybe you do remember where you it went from what you're living is good because you're like, I want to be a good person, right? I come from a good family. But then you're like, no, I want to radically live for the who is Jesus Christ. And it's interesting
Yeah,
because
yeah,
mine was like one day for me. It was, I don't care what I'm living for. Now I'm going to live for the who, Jesus. Yours was a
right.
gradual thing. So I'm just interested what happened.
Yeah, I guess it was great. I mean, it wasn't. It
Or
was. I
maybe it
mean,
was a day. You tell me the story.
well, there were some pivotal moments for me. I think but maybe it was more of a process. I mean, I remember as a young man in elementary school being like just having a real interest in the things of the Lord. I was interested in what the CCD teacher, Mrs. Magarelli, was teaching in the front of the class. Like I was interested in it, man. I cared about it. Like I wanted to know more. My interest was piqued always. I acknowledged that there was something holy about the liturgy. I didn't understand it, but something about it. That's probably true for many or most, or at least many of us. I think, um, even if we don't understand the liturgy, and there might just be an initial reaction to experiencing it, a liturgy that's well done anyway. That like, wow, that's beautiful. There's something holy here, otherworldly. Um, and then, of course, when I was in high school, there was an experience when you came to my high school actually, uh, and gave a talk to the school, and that was very impactful for me as like a moment because you proposed this radical call that Christ wants something for you and from you and wants to give you, the greatest life possible, basically. And that was attractive to me because I'm like, oh, I want the greatest life possible,
Yeah,
maybe not in
totally.
those words per se,
Yeah.
but like, I think that was what was resonating in my heart, and then that kind of drew me to a retreat experience at the school with Father Michael Jolie, who ran the campus ministry, and I had a real moment there in confession on Saturday night, where it was very freeing and life changing, and I think part of that confession experience was acknowledging the selfishness in my own life and in my own heart and in my own pursuits, acknowledging the self, the me, myself, and I unholy trinity that was ruling my heart and guiding my life, and being able to renew that vision with a new vision of putting God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit in the proper place of primacy in my heart and in my life, and thereby elevating my own desires and the call of my life to be not about me but about him and about the other. I think that was formed, maybe very really, in that very first confession, after having not gone to the sacrament of confession in years prior, since I was a young kid. That was probably a pivotal foundational moment for that, and just kind of became what was reinforced as I grew in Christian community and understanding of what a Christian life was and looked like.
Yeah, and I think there's two things you hit on. One is the mass, and two is confession. Like,
Uh-huh.
it's interesting. Like, as I get older in my faith, like the mass, the liturgy becomes even more prominent for me in my
Yeah.
understanding of how needed it is in my walk. And like, I've been going to daily mass since I was 17 during the
Yeah.
week, not just Sunday, but daily. And anybody that doesn't, you're missing out because daily mass is ridiculous.
It's the
It's the
best, man.
greatest. It's the best.
It's
It's
the
like
best.
those things you have at your restaurant that you put in the daily mass. You got the prosciutto with the mozzarella. Like mass is like
Hey, man.
you get it, you put it in the
You don't even know what you want to say. You just...
I want to say the steroid toaster oven you got at you. You got a toaster oven on steroids over at
Yeah,
you.
we do.
The Italian stove there.
Yeah, we do, man. We
You
do.
put it in there, and it just like marinates and you just put it in there for just a little bit of time, and you come out and you're like, oh, this is unbelievable. That's like daily mass. If I can give you like if I can give you anything to entice you to go to daily mass, it's as good as prosciutto mozzarella and like on steroids. But
Yeah, man. Yeah.
but anyways, the point is that it's like like what you said, another world. Like right now, everything's so worldly and so like techie and
Uh-huh.
so detailed that when you can just like I go to mass, I even a lot of times go to the Latin mass even myself, but people wouldn't believe that, but I do, and the reason I love it is because I go there and it's like I'm not on Earth. And I don't know if anybody's ever gone there, but if you want to say, hey, I'm not going to be on Earth for an hour or two,
Yeah.
I'm going to go here.
That'll
And if
do
you
it.
don't like how Earth is treating you, and you really think whatever's happening in your life on Earth sucks, go to mass and you'll
Yeah.
get to be in a place that's another world. What do you think?
Yeah, man. That's very much been my experience with mass, with the Latin mass. I mean, I was talking with one of my brothers that I go just, going back to the jujitsu thing. One of the brothers that I train with there, we were talking life, man. We were just talking, a like-minded brother, man. We've known each other for ages. We went to kindergarten together, and phenomenal guy, phenomenal heart, just wants to be the best father, the best husband that he could be, the best brother to the guys around him. I mean,
That's
just a
awesome.
just a good guy, man. And Blake played serious football, played professional football in NFL for a bunch of years, and we kind of circled back and connected over more recent years. Long story short, point that I'm getting to is we started training jiu-jitsu. We started the journey of jiu-jitsu together, and and part of it that's cool is like to share that with another brother, that experience of growth, and he and I even said that it's so crazy, like being you know being coached, as an adult. Like we're grown men,
Yeah,
and we're part of this community where like we're the lowest guy on the in the gym. We're the new guys. And to be novices, beginners, to be coached and to place yourself like under the master. Who it's just a cool dynamic, man, and it's a good thing for a man. Certainly when once you're in your 40s, it's like you feel like you kind of turning the hump, so to speak, like you're over the hill, but to still be like a beginner at something has been a
that's
great
awesome.
experience. And we talk a lot of life and these things. And one of the things that we were sharing recently, we were talking about is I invited him to join me to go to mass up in the Little Sisters of Bethlehem up in Livingston Manor. they're hermits. They're a hermit community of religious sisters. And I was telling them that the mass up there, man, is like, it transcends you. When I walked in that chapel for the first time, Justin, I felt like I was somewhere that I shouldn't be, because it was set apart, and I wasn't worthy of peering into the holy space that I had just like walked into, you know. And I was just in the choir loft, like in the chapel, but bro, it was like, whoa, it just hits you in that place. It's a holy, holy place. These women spend their lives in prayer, in solitude. They spend 1 hour a week in community. They go for a walk in the woods with the other hermit sisters there. And other than that, they're in solitude, and they come together to pray morning prayer and mass each day. Um, so yeah, to your point, uh, I was sharing this recently with him because, we're hungry, man, and I'm hearing him share this hunger for something more, and I'm hungry for something more. And we're, as brothers, he and we're always looking for, hey man, what's going to feed that hunger? We look for different ways to explore and ways to grow and push us in our in our masculinity, in our fatherhood, in our husbandhood, and just in our desire for spiritual growth. And so that was something that we were just talking about last week, as something that we're going to try to sneak in before Christmas. So time's ticking, but we want to try to
Yeah,
get up
right.
there for a mass, to elevate the mind and the heart to that other, man, the beauty of what exists beyond just what we see with our physical eyes.
Yeah, and people always ask, like, how are you able to live for something other than this earth? And it's the only way to do that is when you go to a place that's not like earth, and that's why going to mass is that,
Yes.
like where people go, like, you're different, man. You're just like, like, what's that all about? And that's because you're digging in deeper to things that are beyond yourself. And that's what you're saying when you have a master, a coach, a leader.
Yeah.
You're digging into things that are bigger than yourself. So my one thing is,
Yeah,
anybody
bro.
right now, if you're listening, what Tim's saying with his, this guy's like Yoda over here. And like, what he's saying, he's saying is, like, go to places that are uncomfortable,
Yeah, bro. You're nailing it right now. Yep. Keep going.
that can challenge you, and put you in a place that you're like, look, I can't do this without someone or something other than myself. And what is that someone? And what is that something that can help you through this? And right now, somebody might be in a situation that they didn't want to be in, that they didn't ask for. And they're like, I need someone or something to get me through this. And I think that that's what's pressing upon the American society right now more than it's ever pressed on.
Mm,
That they're getting pushed, and it's gonna be a lot of growing pains, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. We're gonna see a lot of suffering. But guess what? When we have that someone and that something greater than ourselves to
yeah.
help us through it, it's doable. It's possible. Anything is possible
Yeah.
with God.
We've become really complacent and comfortable in this country, man. Over generations, bro. It's like, it's not like, this isn't like over the past 10 years. It's like, we have to put ourselves in uncomfortable positions. It's the only way to grow out of it, you know? It's like working out, man. Like, all the years training for sports and stuff as a kid, you push your body, you break your body down so that it could grow and to become something better. But we just seek the comfort nowadays. It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
And
It's leaving us really vulnerable. Not good vulnerability. I mean, like exposed for like, well, it's just making us weak, you know. And again, there's weak, good weak, and there's vulnerable, good vulnerable. But it's like pathetic, maybe is what is a better way to put it, you know.
for sure.
So
But I want to thank two people in your life that I think got you, and this is
who do
my
you
own take.
want to thank, Justin P. Fatica?
Oh yeah, with a capital P, P
That's
dot.
it.
Listen, you didn't have the dot. What did I tell them? You didn't even have the dot on you. I have the P dot. They
P.
didn't.
Dot
The
Fatica.
producers, the producers didn't put the J dot. They just. But I'm gonna put the P dot here. But I want to say two people, and I'm just going out on a limb because you know me. That's the story of my life.
Go on, bro.
But
Who is it? Who you got?
I want to thank your wife and your son JJ in particular that
These are
I think
good people to thank, brother.
have gotten you to this place in jiu-jitsu and like that's my own take on it as a friend, as a brother.
Uh-huh.
It's been a lot of things, but
Yeah.
those two in particular, and I just like if you could share on that, like how have both of those have just been like you just what you've learned through your experience of your service with them and for them and what that taught you and how it got you to this because I just see you now and I'm honest, I mean you're my friend. I'm
Yeah.
always proud of you, but I'm really just so inspired by you and the person you are and who you are and what you're striving for, and you're just a huge gift, man, and you've always been a gift in my life every year, every day. But I just can't thank you enough for you responding to be a father. Like, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. But you
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
you got it going, man. And it for me, I'm like super inspired. I don't know if you're open to sharing a little bit about that experience.
Man, you've always been, I tell you, man, you've always been a great encourager for me, a great encouragement and a great encourager with regards to my marriage, you know? Like I remember you telling me early on when I was just starting to date Raquel, you're like, "Oh man, she's the one for you, man. You guys are made for each other. Like, this is your path to heaven, man. You guys like it, even acknowledging like the ways that I've changed in as a result of marriage, of fatherhood. I think as a good brother and a good friend who's known me for years, you probably have a lens to see it. Maybe also maybe because of again the physical distance between us and the fact that we have these kind of like check-in moments over the years. It's like watching your own children. You don't see your own children grow. You just, you see your friends' children, how much they've grown. Your
Yeah,
kids
for
grow right
sure.
before your eyes. You don't even notice it. So anyway, you've probably had I don't know, just a vantage point of acknowledging that, like acknowledging growth, and then like encouraging it and calling it out, and that's something I'm grateful for, man. That you've done that for me, and I guess you see pretty clearly, because you certainly speak to it. So
Yeah, I know like with your wife in particular, like you've like really called yourself to like, she suffered a lot in the past few years, and you've called yourself out to say, I'm going to suffer with her. And same thing with your son. People don't know this, but like, you know, with your son and what he's gone through, um, with diabetes and like fighting that, like you, like, and I can say this, people might not even understand it, but like you basically studied it like it was your job, so you could learn how to take care of your kid
yeah,
like perfectly. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to diss myself. I'm just keeping it 100. Like
yeah,
I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have known how to do that. But
yeah,
like,
yeah,
and I just want to say thank you. Like that just shows you like God gave you the challenge with your wife and your son and the struggles that they went through because he knew you'd be the perfect dad to be able to help them with it. Just like
yeah,
I hope, for me, I hope that I'm the perfect dad for my kids. And I'd like just to encourage everybody out there. If you don't think you're the perfect dad for your kids or the perfect, spouse for your spouse, like you are. And like God has called you to be that person. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you see it that way, but that's how that just touches just watching is
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean, Justin, I see the I see everything as a gift. Like with my son's struggles with type 1 diabetes, which is incredibly difficult for both
Super.
me and Raquel. She is a remarkable woman, man. I mean, the sufferings that she carries on her shoulders with, just with her own health journey, which is just trying and not always getting clear answers from doctors and things. Some, just different types of conditions that just cause her great amount of physical pain and suffering, um, and then to carry that weight and to carry the weight of caring for our son, especially when he was younger, 3 years ago, when he was diagnosed at the age of 6. Um, and not that it's become particularly easier now that he's 10, but it's a great weight that she carries, um, not necessarily heavier than the weight of having to deal with me as a husband.
Hey man, come on.
I
At
mean,
least you're number 3 or 4 here, all right?
I mean, man, she's a remarkable woman, and I'm so grateful. And the other day, as a matter of fact, I was joking with her because she was being interviewed on a podcast with another friend of ours, Justin Bishop. Bishop Joseph Espaillat had her on his podcast,
Yeah.
Sainthood in the City. And on that podcast, they were talking about marriage and family life and married life and some of these things. And man, she said some things that were like so encouraging about me on that interview.
That's
And
beautiful.
I was like, so as I'm listening to the interview, I'm like, I was like very touched by it. I'm like, man. So I see her, maybe later on in the day or something. I'm like, you really think those things about me? Like, you really think all the? And she's like, yes. I was like, oh man, it was so like nice to hear.
Yeah.
And we just
That's
get. I feel
beautiful.
like she and I get so consumed by the demands of our five caring for our 5 children. Uh, me invested in my businesses and my work. Um, you're a taxi driver, you're pedaling, you got all these responsibilities, but yeah, man, she sacrifices so greatly for our family, and I certainly know hearing her say those things to me at that time on that podcast, not even to me, but to others about me, was like, man, it was awesome to hear, and it was a challenge, I think, hearing it to question in my own heart, like, man, I know I don't share with her the gratitude that I have for the ways that she sacrifices and serves for our family, um, without with no reservation, man. I mean, she gives to the literal point of exhaustion every day. I see her give to the point where she is like collapsing on the bed at the end of the day, unable to even hold a conversation because she's so exhausted. And it's just serving the family, the home, the children, me. I mean, it doesn't stop. Um, I'm super grateful for it, man. It is a it's a it's a an image of selfless love, of self gift, and it's beautiful, man, to be able to be married to a woman who gives herself that way for her children and for her spouse.
Yeah, I mean, it's super touching. And what you're saying, it's called what we called, with our mission, with Hard as Nails, is passion.
Yeah,
And like sharing those challenges that you face with one another, sharing what you're thankful for, and sharing what you need prayers for. And I know when you do that, like what that can do for, it seems so simple, It seems like, oh, okay, yeah, that's easy. Share your challenges, share your thankful, share what you need prayers for.
It's
But
hard,
like,
bro.
but if every family did that, if every friendship did that, if every enemy did that together, could you imagine if an enemy said, "Hey, this is my challenge"? They wouldn't be their enemy anymore. They'd be their friend. And if they shared, "This is what I'm thankful for," oh man, that guy's got a dad, who's on his last legs. And if
I
they
want
shared with,
No, Justin, I'm sorry to cut you off. As you're saying it, I'm just saying I want to do that with my family as I hear you saying these things. Like, it's not a practice in my home, but hearing you share this makes me want to implement that practice in my home. And
yeah.
I will. I mean, because
Well,
I
I know
want
you.
to.
If you say
If
you
I want
will,
to do something, I will. Like I do things I want to do, man. I don't, and I don't
no,
usually
but
do things I don't want to do.
and and I want I want to I mean, we got to do this again. I mean, this is powerful, and
Yeah,
anybody that's listening, I know that they're going to be touched and impacted because when brothers, like when men are friends and they care about, there's just something. I don't know if people believe that, but there's just something when two men are just friends, two
yeah,
men just like really care about one another, and there's just something about that. And you know, early on in the mission field of serving Christ and giving my whole heart to this, I was more about like, hey, everybody needs to change, repent, right?
yeah,
And trust me, I gotta repent daily. But something in my life happened where I saw so much suffering. Like I was so clueless because like you, I came from a good Italian, family, mom, dad, like bills paid, like things taken care of. And I didn't know people who didn't have dads. I didn't know. And so there became this vision we had. And I just like you to close out and then, lift people up in prayer if you would, like just to close out. Um, like this vision to end people suffering alone. Like you suffer with a wife, you know what I mean? You suffer with your kids, even if you're getting, getting the elbow over there, they're crushing you
yeah.
in that tournament. You got friends cheering you on. What I know is this, just this week alone, I got 10 messages online, whether Instagram or Facebook or in my email, 10, maybe more, but 10 for sure, where they're saying, I don't have anybody to help me. Can you help me?
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
you know what I mean? And sometimes I can give them an answer, sometimes I can't. But how important is it for us to take that to heart, to make a world where no one suffers alone?
yeah, bro. I want to suffer more deeply with my family, not just alongside them. But when I hear you sharing that about the passion, it's like that's a way that I can suffer. I can enter into their suffering with them and allow them to enter into my suffering with me, to not be that closed, like you've known me to be as a brother at times, a closed off, rock wall that you just can't break through. So, how do I open my heart to allow the people in my life that want to love me and to be able to enter into their suffering and show that I do care about their suffering, even though I might not speak that so well or show that in ways that my wife, for example, may want that to be acknowledged. Maybe I don't always acknowledge it in a way that she's aware that I desire to enter that her suffering with her. Um, so the more we can do that, and I see that as a real concrete, practical way, man. And I know that model. I mean, I've been around that model with you forever. I've walked in that model in faith communities with you for years and decades. But to implement that into the life of my family, I think could be groundbreaking, and that's a welcome, beautiful discovery, man, from this little chat that we're having here. So
Yeah, I just hope everybody can know that people don't want you to fix their challenge. They just want you to be there with them. when
That's
they've
it.
got a challenge. They don't want you to fix their, problem. They just want you to be present while you have that problem.
That's it. At the
You
men's
know,
group we have at our parish, there's a men's group, like 40, 50 guys come on. It's Saturday mornings at 6:30 in the morning. And we pray morning prayer together, and then we break off. And Father Daniel's like, listen, here's what we do when we break off into groups. Every guy gets to go around and share a little something, right? Series of questions that's asked, and nobody gets to say anything about them. Nobody gets to try to fix them. Nobody gets to try. You ain't solving anybody's problems. You're not here to be a therapist or a coach. Or man, it ain't what it's about. And that's where the breakdown of community happens, when you try to become that imposing force in someone's life. And mind you, that's where we lose people to the faith and evangelization, when we try to fix people. It's like accompaniment is the key, man. Just to walk alongside of others, the people that we love, the way that you and I have walked alongside each other for these years in friendship and brotherhood. And I think that's the gift of real community, man. And that's what I'm seeking everywhere I go. I want that kind of community. I want that kind of friendship. Brothers that walk alongside.
yeah, that you believe in somebody, like, regardless, that you just want to be with somebody regardless, that you just love being with them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and you just want to be with them, and if they're what you think is perfect, great. If they're what you think is imperfect, oh well. But at the end of the day, you're with them and you're
yeah,
walking with them. And I think that's what we need across the board. And your witness will challenge them. And I think as we close out, like, that's where we have to do. We have to challenge ourselves to be that witness, and to be that person that can just really care for one another and be that example. And some days you do great and some days you fail. But at the end of the day, if you know how to lose well, you'll win eventually. And that's the goal. That's the goal. But I just love being with you. We could be on here all day. We could spend another 3 hours and
I
everybody'd be gone. But guess what? We'd
it would be
still be
easy
here.
for me, man. It would be easy. I could spending time with you, chatting it up, man. This is yeah, man. You're gonna have to stop me.
No, me too. I could go on forever and ever, and just know, like,
And there's value in it, man. I tell you, I'm being really honest with you. Like, when I say, I mean, I didn't come into this conversation with anything to to that I wanted to push or discuss or whatever, but like, there's a great value in this conversation for me. I really have a takeaway from it, man. And just, that's always been the case of our friendship. I think, like, you've been nothing but a gift to me, man. Like, for as long as I've known you, your friendship has blessed me. And the encouragement that you have provided and continue to provide to me personally, to my family, the gift of, even just sharing that, look, man, I'm telling you, that's going to change my family, man. Like, implementing that into the life of my home is going to change my family. And so, things that you've shared with me over the past few couple of weeks ago, about my own son, who I just have had a desire to connect more deeply with. Some of those encouragements have been transformative in my relationship with him. I'm just so grateful, man, for your friendship, and it's a treasure in my life, man. I would not be the man that I am on the path that I am if I didn't have your friendship.
well, I can't. I mean, it's just humbling to, that's why I'm, like, so passionate about this, because we don't deserve friends like this.
It's true.
Every
I'm well aware.
everybody deserves that, and those are the things that nothing keeps me up at night, because I'm 0 or 100. But the things
They hit the
that,
light switch and you're off, man.
no, man, I'm out. I'm done for the day. I've given it everything I got nothing left. Big dog in the sky. You put me to sleep and wake me up, all right? But like my grandmother says, my 105-year-old grandma, she says, I just hope not to wake up one day. That's what she says. You got to listen to that podcast, Timmy. You got
Oh
to.
man, yeah, man.
That one is power packed.
Oh,
She's power packed.
I'm sure of it, man. I've had some combos on the phone with her, man, that were power packed.
Yo, she's
She's
serious.
amazing. Your
That
grandma's
lady.
amazing.
That late. But no, every week we do this, and we're scheduled out like I have so many guests that want to come on, so many people
Yeah,
that are excited about this. And it's more like just being with people.
it's great, man.
It's great just to hang out with people. And you've been telling me to do this forever. You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because man, you know what? Look, man, authenticity is one of the core values of what you do. Like it's one of the core values of the work that you invested your life into, and because of that, it's become well. It's not become part of who you are because of that, but it is one of the core values because it's part of who you are, and because you are that man who values authenticity. And that's really what I think people are looking for, man, in this realm, in this in this new age, so to speak, and particularly with the podcasting and the media stuff, man. Authenticity is just like it cuts through everything. People love it, they value it, they treasure it, they're looking for it, they're hungry for it. So you bring that, Justin. And so the more that you do these things, um, this will fly, man. People, you have a voice that is real, and yeah, it's a gift, bro. Everything that you do is a gift. So you got to just keep sharing it, brother. I'm glad that I could be a part of this little episode, and I hope that the podcast, crushes it, bro.
Yeah, and we'll just keep going, and I appreciate it. But make sure to pray for anybody that's listening, and make sure to pray
Yeah.
for me daily and the family. And guess what? We're gonna keep it going. That's all I know. We're gonna
Oh,
keep
I
it
know.
going. My
Oh,
next book, I'm writing this book, Unconditional Encouragement. But my next book after that, I already started the outline for it. You know what it's called?
what's it called?
You're not you're not done till you're dead. The seven reasons why my grandmother lived to 105.
The 7 reasons.
Yeah, so no, but she's
You're gonna have
that
you might have to change you're gonna have to change that title as the years go by, though.
why you're not done to because I might be dead before I write it. That's I might
That's
be dead
great.
before I write it. But no, tell Raquel and the kids I said I love them and tell them Uncle Justin when he comes by he's gonna wrestle them and they're gonna beat me up pretty soon. I'm gonna be like, oh man, they just roughed
Hey,
me up.
man. Hey, listen. We'll see. It'll get there soon enough, man. You and I are getting old, and they're getting
Oh,
big, man. So
I'm getting old, man. I look at my timeline. I got 25 years if I'm lucky. My grandfather only lived till 69. I only got 24 more years. I'm like,
oh,
holy cow,
man.
I'm in big trouble.
Let's hope you have
I
a couple
love you,
more than
brother.
that.
I
I
love
love
you.
you too, bro. I love you too, man. Thanks for this, bro.
Thanks for listening to the Encouragement Conquers All podcast with Justin Fatica. Make sure to subscribe and follow to be notified when the newest episodes of the podcast go live. You can find contact information and important links in the show notes. Stay tuned for the next episode.